Hello everyone, welcome to Durrett's Take. Sorry it's been a while, but since there's been no football or basketball recently, that's why I haven't been posting recently. But now that football is coming back soon, I'm going to be starting to post more often. In fact, we got some football tonight with the Hall of Fame game, the first NFL preseason game between the Jets and Browns. So watch that and all the other preseason games that'll happen throughout August before the season starts in September. And then for college football, you got week 0 at the last weekend of August before you dive to the first week of September. Now, I'm going to wait towards the end of the month to reveal my NFL predictions and college football predictions. But in the meantime, what I want to go over right now is college football realignment. So just in case if you haven't been paying attention to kind of catch you up to speed. So Colorado decided right after Pac-12 media days and before the Pac-12 have their meeting to kind of reveal the TV deal, Colorado decided to jump to the Big 12. And the reason for that is because, for one, it's like, Dion definitely would prefer to be in the Big 12, with his Texas roots and all that. And Colorado, frankly, is just a better fit in the Big 12. They never a good fit in the Pac-12. But the main reason why they left is because they wanted stability, which the Big 12 provides. So now we're at the point where the TV deal has been presented, to the Pac-12 ADs and presidents and all that, and it's basically a primary streaming option, specifically with Apple Plus. So that's where most of the Pac-12 games. Now they're trying to work out a deal where maybe like Fox could have like the Pac-12 game of the week, or something like that, so that can be on linear or cable, But basically that's the option, and basically it depends on how many subscriptions people have would then result in how much money the Pac-12 schools get. So and not a lot of people stream for those games, and the Pac-12 teams aren't going to be making a lot of money. Now, if like an absurd amount does, then yeah, it can surpass Big 12 or AC numbers, but odds are it probably won't. But the problem is, even if it does, it's hard to budget that. If you're a school if you're the school president, all that, you got to be able to have budgets and concrete, info, which streaming, is very random, so you don't know that. So that's one hiccup there. But now the schools kind of have to, take that in and decide, okay, do we want to leave or not? And there's a lot of people who want the Pac-12 to survive and stay. And I can understand that, like there's some traditions that I like, for example, with Oklahoma going to SEC, Oklahoma State doesn't want to play Oklahoma anymore because they're mad about them leaving, and therefore the Bedlam rivalry is going to be no more for a while, like stuff like that, it's kind of like, oh man, but in this case, it honestly shouldn't matter, because the Pac-12, let's say they add San Diego State, SMU, or Boise State, and then they get to back to 10, to at least 10, where let's say they go more Mountain West schools and they go 12, it's like, that is not gonna do you any good. Now the Big 12 added G5 schools, Cincinnati, Houston, UCF, and BYU, but at least those schools, have like big success, big recruiting, big recruiting areas, good fan bases, and some of them, like BYU's case, a national fan base. Like those were like very good options. Those weren't like hey, we just need to get the best G5s. Like, no, those are schools that have been acting like P5 programs, so and they're not a lot of G5 schools that act like P5 programs, so that made a lot of sense for the Big 12 at the time. But in this case, like I said, adding Boise State things, it's like, that ain't gonna do much for the Pac-12. And then also, it's just like, even if when you do add them, it's like you're still gonna be clearly the worst P5 conference. Now, obviously, you're going to be better than Mountain West or American, but you're still going to be clearly the worst Power 5 conference. And if you're the other Pac-12 schools, is that what you really want, is to be the worst Power 5 conference? Now, the one reason why, everything, the Pac-12 might survive is because, not this year, but in 2025, 2026, there's the college football playoff expanded to 12 teams in the 6 highest conference ranked champions will get, which basically means the Pac-12 champion will automatically have access to it. Versus if a bunch of Pac-12 schools go to the Big 10 or the Big 12, then it's going to be hard for them to have access, if they don't win their conference championship game. So I can understand that in that regard for the Pac-12, why this may not be an instant, okay, let's move, the Big 12 or Big 10, depending on which school you are, But in all honesty, it's like the Pac-12 is done. Once USC and UCLA left, that was the end of it. And you can blame the former Pac-12 commissioner, Larry Scar, or the current Pac-12 commissioner right now, or both, or whoever. But those are just the facts. So in my opinion, Arizona State, and Utah should go to the Big 12. And then Oregon, Washington, I know, want to go to the Big 10. Now, I heard that if the Big 10 never invites them, I heard they'd rather go independent than go to the Big 12. That, I feel like, is stupid. And they should, if the Big 10 is just not going to invite them at all, and the Big 12 tells them clear, hey, we're never going to invite you, then if I'm Oregon, Washington, you join the Big 12 as well. Instead of going independent. That's just dumb. But if the Big 10 adds Oregon, Washington, they may add Stanford, Cal as well, even though they're horrible with sports and all. At least you get good academics and good, markets and all that and all that stuff. So that's something the Big Ten's talking about now. It's not like, they're deep in talks, just kind of preliminary talks, if you will. So they're kind of starting the conversation, kind of getting the gauge on how that would go and everything, It looks like even if schools like Oregon, Washington, Cal, Stanford join the Big Ten, it looks like they'll have to take a big pay cut now. Instead of getting, $75 million per team, if Oregon, Washington come in, they only get, $35 million or $30 million. They're obviously going to take this way better than what the Pac-12 had, But those are kind of the options for schools like Oregon, Washington, and Arizona State, Utah, which would be good for both conferences. Now, Oregon State and Washington State's interesting because, if the Big 12 is not inviting, the Big 10 is not inviting them, and I don't see the ACC inviting them, then they either have to become G5 members and join the Mountain West, or they have to go independent, and hopefully they can cross their fingers that they can make it as an independent and get a good enough television deal, money and all that, to where they can survive. Which that part I'll admit is sad, if the Pac-12 dissolves and all that. Like I would hate for that, those schools, but BYU showed they could survive as independent. Notre Dame's obviously shown they could survive as independent, although they're bigger brands, but it's like it could be done. And then for other schools, they would have to, for other sports, they would have to join the Mountain West WCC. But oh well. But yeah, so those are the options that you're looking at if you're at the Pac-12 schools there. Now, there also is another wrinkle here that's come around, that's been kind of brewing for a while, but now it's starting to amplify a little bit, is the ACC and their potential unstableness, because even though they have the television deal at 2035 and it'd be very expensive to get out of it, Florida State's clearly wanting to get out of it, and they want to join the SEC. And then Clemson wants to leave as well, North Carolina, Virginia, Miami. Those are kind of like the top 5 schools in the ACC that would like to leave. For either SEC or Big Ten. If the Big Ten doesn't go the Pac-12 route, they would be fine in those schools along with Notre Dame as well. Now, like I said, it'd be very expensive for any of those ACC schools to leave, so I'm not sure if or when that would happen. So for Florida, they said it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when and how, which is an interesting comment. But if that happens, and that obviously throws a wrinkle to realignment, so it's like, well then, would the ACC and Pac-12, even though they're far distance apart, would they join a merger so that they can, be a power conference? Would a bunch of ACC schools, maybe like a Syracuse, hey, I want to go back to the Big East, or some of those or the Big 12, like, hey, even though we got a lot of teams, we'll expand more and take some of the good ACC programs like Pittsburgh or something like that. I'm not sure. But like I said, I'm not sure when all this stuff for different schools is going to happen. But just be prepared, especially with the Pac-12 media deal being done at the end of the year, which means Pac-12 teams can leave as free agents and you don't have to pay an exit fee. It's like, it'll be curious over the next few months with realignment to kind of see which Pac-12 team or teams decide to leave first and how all this realignment thing will shake out. So thank you very much for listening to my podcast today. Please subscribe to my channel to learn about me. Again, I'm excited for NFL preseason football this month, and we got college football and NFL both coming up around the corner begin September. So hopefully you guys, join this conference realignment talk for now. But for my next podcast, I'll definitely be going over more of my predictions for the upcoming NFL and college football season. Thank you very much, and y'all have a wonderful day.